Leopold Dar woke to the sound of complaining voices. Sleep clung to him as he fought the urge to bury his face in his pillow for a few more precious moments of rest. The worst part wasn't waking up, but shaking off the fog that followed. No one's happy about housing pirates on this ship, but the princess gave orders they can't be touched. Even the nobles are following her command, said a woman's voice. Makes you wonder why she'd keep pirates alive at all, a third person added to the conversation. It's not our place to question a royal. The princess must have her reasons, replied another. What about you, Darar? The first voice asked directly. With a groan, Leopold opened his eyes, yawned, and sat on the edge of his bunk. He looked around at his 4 roommates while fighting off another yawn, tasting his morning breath. The quarters were surprisingly comfortable by principality standards for commoners. Instead of cramming 8 crew members into a room with only bunks and tiny closets, they had spacious accommodations with comfortable beds, pillows, and personal storage. The temperature was always pleasant, and the design featured whites, soft blues, and varying shades of gray and black rather than the usual drab colors of standard ships. The princess must have good reasons to keep them around, Leopold shrugged. We're commoners. We don't get a say in what our superiors decide. 2 of his roommates agreed, while the others groaned. I thought being close to nobles would let you hear more about their plans, one complained. Leopold, how does it feel to be part of an elite force? A woman asked with curiosity. Leopold chuckled. Elite? The only thing elite about us is our squadron name. We haven't truly earned the title yet, though we practice constantly in the training chambers. Come on, Darar, you never tell us about your daily life. You're a commoner among nobles. Do you serve them drinks? Are you there out of pity? The first one pressed with a hostile grin. Leopold shrugged again. He barely knew these roommates, as they worked in different areas. He spent most of his time training, watching entertainment videos, or with his teammates, only using this room for sleep. If I'm there out of pity, that's news to me. Wyatt Staples picked me for the team, so ask him, Leopold replied with a smirk. And risk approaching the Aster dog? No, thank you, the man replied, earning nods from the others. Aster dog? Leopold asked, confused. That's what we call the lieutenant. What else would you call a dog but a dog? The people at Woodshaft called him the Ace, Leopold countered. We know what he truly is, the man insisted. Leopold crossed his arms, genuinely curious. And what is he? Isn't it obvious? He's a noble, in disguise. He was promoted to lieutenant right after arriving, despite supposedly being a commoner like us. I heard he's an undercover agent of the Asters, another added, or a failed Royal Marine. He just happened to save the princess and receive protection from the prince himself. He beat one of the unwinnable simulations. No mere commoner could do that. Samantha tried flirting with him despite my warnings. He showed no interest in her, and she's very pretty for a commoner. And what he did in Woodshaft against the Drazen fighters? Insanity. Only gold aces like Commander Redford could pull such moves. Could he be a lone wolf in disguise? Doubt it. Lone wolves are well known and boastful. This Wyatt Staples came from nowhere and doesn't stand out. I bet he's Commander Redford's bastard son, or a long-lost Aster. His eyes changed. After we left Matcha, I bet they were always like that, and he was using contacts to pass as a commoner. As his roommates shared their theories about Wyatt's identity, Leopold listened in stunned silence until he burst into laughter, clutching his stomach. You're all crazy, he managed between laughs. Is everyone around me insane? Wyatt Staples is none of those things. What makes you so certain? What do you know, Darar? The second woman challenged. I know Wyatt was just a commoner who happened to be in the right place at the right time. He saved Princess Clara by chance and was rewarded for it. Anyone else would have received the same promotion in his place. You can't possibly believe that, Leopold, the second man countered. His standing with the princess and being publicly knighted by the prince? No commoner could reach such heights. He's right. And Cynthia Winfield, the blood-rend herself, is training him. He must have plenty of implants already. Many nobles are upset about that, the first woman added. From what I've seen, he's not. Just an ordinary commoner, Leopold replied, raising his hand before they could interrupt. But that doesn't mean he's some secret soldier. He's just very skilled, and the princess seems to like him for who he is. Nonsense. I've heard he gets regularly invited to the princess's quarters, the second woman said, her cheeks reddening. Do you know anything about that? Leopold shook his head. Not at all, though I'm sure those meetings aren't what you're implying. Not once has Wyatt shown that I had a good time look about him. A shame. If I were in his place, I'd at least try flirting with such beautiful women. You're a beast in heat, Darar, the woman said, blushing harder. Leopold shrugged. Just telling the truth. If Wyatt is comfortable around them, they can't be that bad. He stretched and stood up. Enough talk. Since we're all awake, we should bathe and prepare for our shifts. You're still wrong, Darar. You're stuck here with the rest of us rabble while he lives a high-end life, the first man said resentfully. The group of 5 made their way to the communal showers, where staff members handed them towels and soap. Rations. While Leopold appreciated feminine beauty, the communal setting with dozens of naked men and women removed any sense of eroticism from the experience. As hot water washed over him, his mind wandered. He knew many commoners transferred from the prince's fleet resented Wyatt. Leopold was among the few who saw the man for the talented pilot he was, but he understood why his fellow commoners felt as they did. Envy and jealousy fueled their questions. Why was Wyatt the fortunate one? What made him so special? It was hypocritical, Leopold thought, for them to desire what others had achieved while knowing their place at the bottom. Most commoners who gained something significant looked down on others with disdain, making sure everyone knew they were better. But Wyatt had never done that. Not once had he treated Leopold as lesser because of his new noble status. He never ordered staff around, flaunted his position, boasted or lorded over fellow commoners as new nobles typically did. Despite being closely linked to the royal family and serving directly under Princess Clara, with power to do almost anything he wanted, Wyatt remained humble, honest, and accountable for his actions and mistakes. Leopold's roommates were right. There was something special about Wyatt Staples. But Leopold was certain what made the lieutenant special was his character, convictions, and personality. Something tells me serving under him will be entertaining, Leopold thought with a smile. With any luck, I won't be pushed aside. In the ship's brig, Clara Astor stood before a cell containing 3 adult pirates. She wore her comfortable mixed armor uniform as she looked down at them with contained contempt. Milcades and Cynthia flanked her protectively. "What more do you want from us, Astor?" spat one of the prisoners, looking up from the cell floor. Clara wished Wyatt could be present, but he had other duties. She found it amusing when the pilot showed fear toward her, not revulsion, but a primal, respectful fear. Yet when she had revealed the truth of her reputation to him, he hadn't shown any fear of her or Cynthia. This puzzled her deeply. Surely he understood how brutal her past actions had been, taken in anger and without mercy toward those she judged guilty. But he had simply accepted her actions without condemnation. That wasn't quite right. He had judged her, but deemed her brutal, cunning, and dangerous, yet also just and firm. Was this his commoner upbringing, accepting her actions as her right? Or was it his pragmatic view? He had been disgusted by the actions of noble houses that had condemned many to horrific deaths. Perhaps he simply agreed that those responsible deserved punishment. Whatever the reason, one truth remained. She didn't regret her decisions. They had been cruel but necessary. Looking back, she could have chosen differently, perhaps spared the youngest children and babies. Her choices had been born from reckless emotions, but even now, she wondered if she would truly make different choices. That experience had been her turning point, opening her eyes to the failings of nobility, the weaknesses of the principality, and her own shortcomings. A lesson learned in blood, as her father always said, both wisdom and warning intertwined. Clara blinked, realizing she had been silent for too long, staring at the trio of pirates. With her mind refocused, she tilted her head slightly, confusing them. "What do I want from you?" she asked softly. "What is it that I want? Justice for your crimes? Your lives in exchange for those you've recklessly taken? The resources you've stolen, I wonder? If you've come to mock us, you're wasting your time. How can you make us crawl lower than we already are?" the woman spat venomously. "Or maybe you've come to spread your lies. Have I not kept my promise?" Clara countered. "You're being fed, not tortured for information. The teenagers and children are also fed, entertained, and protected from harm. The babies are safe and healthy. Tell me, how am I a liar?" The trio could only glare at her, having seen evidence that her words were true. "If you're not here to mock us, why are you here?" asked the man with the metal jaw. "I'm here to offer a beneficial bargain," Clara said, her facade breaking as she offered a somber smile that made them shudder. "I'm certain you're not foolish enough to reject the tremendous opportunity I'm presenting." The three pirates exchanged glances, and the spitting man replied, "What do you want?" Clara's smile vanished, replaced by her serious, cold expression. "Something simple. I want 2 of your babies." "What?" the woman shrieked. "Monster! What sick, twisted torture have you planned for them?" "Can we avoid jumping to unpleasant conclusions?" Clara asked firmly, and Cynthia let out a loud, echoing groan. "What? What do you want with the babies?" asked the metal-jawed man, proving himself the most sensible of the three. "You need not know the details, but they are suitable for my purposes and House Astor's needs. Be assured that regardless of the outcome, their future will be brighter than anything you could provide, most likely a long life. Wouldn't you want that for these babies at least? If you think we'll hand over 2 babies just so you can turn them into loyal principality mongrels, you can go to hell," the spitting man countered. "I'm disappointed by your lack of creativity. Your insults have grown stale and boring. Then again, you're an ignorant, murderous little pirate who finds breathing a challenge," Clara retorted, her expression unchanging. "I'm offering you a chance to make a deal, and you waste it. For pirates, you aren't as opportunistic as I expected," she continued sharply. "May I remind you that I could simply take what I want? Yet here I am, looking to negotiate for 2 babies in exchange for a reward. I believe you'll find more than fair." Again, the pirates exchanged glances before the metal-jawed man spoke up. "What is your proposal, Astor?" Clara's lips shifted into a barely perceptible smirk. "We'll reach Bakura in less than 2 weeks. Upon arrival, you and the children will be handed to the authorities. You'll be prosecuted, and anyone bearing that hideous mark," she said, pointing at the crying raven's skull with blood tears engraved on their necks, "will likely be executed before day's end. The fate of the rest is uncertain." The princess paused to observe their reactions. They fidgeted nervously, knowing she spoke truth, their fear overwhelming. After several cold seconds of silent torture, she continued. "That would normally be the case, but those 2 babies are your chance for a better fate. Not just for you, but for your entire crew. So our options are to die like vermin or wear your collar?" the spitting man asked, eyes narrowed in fury. "Why would I want to keep any of you? You are nothing. Scum. Less than scum. You are parasites, utterly worthless to me. Your value reflects only in the 2 babies I wish to keep," Clara stated coldly, making the trio recoil. "If you accept my deal, I'll ensure you avoid the death penalty. You'll serve just 5 years in prison, then be released with new identities and 10,000 credits each. Enough to start fresh. Your pirate tattoos and symbols will be removed. What you do after your release is no concern of mine." Building momentum, she continued, The children and adolescents will be offered pardons and the chance to serve as auxiliary forces on my ship. Those who accept will be trained, re-educated, and given new identities to serve the principality. Those who refuse will be handed to authorities. The teenagers will share your fate with forced labor. Marked children will go to re-education camps. Unmarked children will be prepared for adoption after thorough re-education to cleanse whatever anarchist beliefs you've instilled in them. Clara paused, letting her cold, unforgiving stare chill the trio now trembling in fear. The metal-jawed man stared at her before turning to his companions. They whispered among themselves. Then he turned. Back to the princess. How do we know you're not tricking us? Clara laughed, an amused, cold, cruel sound that echoed through the cell. What option do you have? She countered. You have nothing to bargain with except what I offer. Am I lying? Am I telling truth? This is a risk you must take. Choose quickly. My patience is limited, and you're exhausting it rapidly. We're trapped, aren't we? The woman asked, letting out an empty chuckle. Quite so, Clara confirmed. If we accept, what would you have us do in exchange for what you offer, princess? The metal-jawed man asked, his defiant spirit finally broken. Only the spitting man remained hostile, but his bravado was fading with each second. After accepting my proposal, you'll be allowed to see your crew and explain what will happen. Your job will be to convince them not only that my offer is genuine, but to persuade as many as possible to accept the pardon. You'll also inform them that 2 babies were too sick from the voyage and tragically died despite our medical staff's best efforts. The remaining babies will go to proper organizations in Bakura, safely raised and adopted into loving families, saving them from the criminal life you chose for yourselves. We can't do that, the spitting man protested, shaking. They'll think we're cowards, traitors, sellouts, worse than leashed dogs. Clara, unmoved, answered coldly, It is your choice. Their lives and futures are in my hands, but it's up to you if they take what I offer. I offer salvation, a second chance, a new life. Are your pride and ego worth more than living to see a better tomorrow? The metal-jawed man lowered his head, as did his companions. We accept your proposal, princess. Was that so hard? Clara asked, turning away from the cell. What happened to the 2 babies? The woman looked up, all defiance drained. From her eyes, only submission and defeat remaining. They died. They couldn't handle our escape and died even after your medics tried to save them. Good, Clara said, pleased. You'll be escorted out in an hour. If you deviate from our agreement, well, even you must realize what will happen if you betray me. The trio remained silent. With nothing more to say, she walked away, flanked by her bodyguard and the Royal Marine captain. Once outside the brig, Milcades spoke up. Are you going to keep your word? For those who accept my offer, and for the children and babies, absolutely. The rest will face the consequences of their crimes, Clara replied without remorse. They've murdered, pillaged, enslaved, and worse throughout their lives. I won't spare a moment's thought for giving new lives to those who don't deserve second chances. For all their claims of hatred and anarchism, they were quick to falter once cornered, Cynthia commented disgustedly. The old man was right. Pirates are little better than dangerous wild animals. Milcades chuckled. I doubt Redford would. Be as merciful as you are, Clara. What about you, Milcades? Will you take 2 pirate babies? Clara asked, her tone softening. They're just babies, innocent of their parents' sins. Their genetic code is clean and stable enough to be acceptable. I wonder who their parents are. Not that it matters now. Their chances of success are low, but even if they fail and survive the process, they'll be worthwhile agents. Finding 2 possible candidates like this is worth the price. I do enjoy gambling and making worthwhile bets, Clara replied with a spreading smirk.